The time has finally come, bro. My wife is here. Let's go over her kit. Let's go over everything real quick. You know the vibes. I'm going to break this down as simple as possible and really just show you her best teams, her how to play her, comps, etc., what she could work with. So let's get right into it. So straight off rip, basic attack doesn't do crazy. She performs up to 4 basic attacks that deal electro damage, consume stamina to control zap string, dealing heavy attacks, and then dodge counter, nothing too crazy there. Now she does scale off of attack from what it seems, sidebar. So now her skill, pretty much her skill has 2 types of marks. When you do her skill, and obviously I'll show you in the gameplay, the puppet zap string deals electro damage to the target and puts Yinlin in the resonant skill execution mode. Execution mode and dodge counter will trigger 1 electromagnetic blast when hitting a target. So it's pretty much doing coordinated strikes with Yinlin on field. She has to be on field to do these coordinated strikes. If you do this 1 E, and let's say you swap out to something like Calchero, it will not do coordinated strikes with Calchero. It has to be with Yinlin when it's in the execution mode. Just hear me out for a second. Each stage of basic attack or dodge can only trigger 1 electromagnetic blast up to 4 times, so it does 4 of these. And then after all targets marked with the Forte Circuit Sinner's Mark, which we will get to after, attack all targets marked with Forte Circuit, dealing electro damage, which we'll get to. The Forte Circuit is very simple. Use Resonant Skill after casting Resonant Skill Magnetic Roar to cast Lightning Execution to attack the target dealing electro damage. If the Resonant Skill Lightning Execution is not activated in a while or this character switches, the skill we put on cooldown. So you could activate her E 2 times. So you do the E for the initial marking, and then you could do it for a second time with her on field to get even more damage out of her. Now you can actually also swap off her. So you could do an E first, swap out to, let's say, like Yanwu, Kalkar, or who, whatever. Now you're not going to get a coordinated attack yet, but you get a little bit more bursty damage out, then you swap back to Yinlin. You do another E, and then it brings the buff even more. It does more damage, and it gives another buff. Here's where it gets crazy. Forte Circuit. When Yinlin's Judgment Points is full, her heavy attack is replaced with Chameleon Cipher, which consumes all Judgment Points to attack the target, dealing electro damage. When it hits a target marked with Sinner's Mark, the Sinner's Mark is replaced with a Punishment Mark. So as we saw previously, the Sinner's Mark is used from when you cast a skill, right? When hits target with a Sinner's Mark, the Sinner's Mark is replaced with Punishing Mark, lasting for 18 seconds. Pretty much what happens is when you do this Forte Circuit, and if the enemies are marked, you get coordinated strikes once every second for 18 seconds, no matter who is on field. But they have to be marked by Yinlin. I'll get to more specifics in a moment. Normal attack, Zap Strings Dance, Resonance Liberation, Thundering Wrath, Intro Skill Roaring Storm will apply Sinner's Mark on hit. Sinner's Mark is removed when Yinlin exits. And then the Punishment Mark. The Punishment Mark, when a target marked with Punishment is damaged, Judgment Strike will fall, dealing electro damage to all targets marked with Punishment Mark. This can trigger up once per second. This is where she gets that follow-up coordinated attacks from. So, again, very simple, basic attack, 4 attacks, nothing too crazy. Resonant Skill, you can cast this twice. You get up to 4 coordinated attacks with this skill, but it has to be on field with her. So you cast it, swap out to whoever else, do something real quick, swap back to Yinlin, and then cast that skill again. Once you've cast a skill twice and your Forte Circuit is full, as long as there are people on the field that are marked with your Forte Circuit, do a charge attack. You can then swap off a Yinlin and then start attacking with whoever you want to get more damage. It will do 1 coordinated strike every 1 second for 18 seconds. So you're looking at 18 coordinated strikes if they're alive for that long. And then the Resonance Liberation is just straight up damage. To call thunder upon large range, dealing electro damage. Intro skill is cool. Command Puppet Zap String to attack electro damage. The outro skill is the big thing. It's going to increase electro damage by 20%. And Resonance Liberation damage amplified by 25% for 14 seconds. So this is the part where she can work with literally anyone. Obviously, she's going to do really well with Calchero or Yanwu. But if you want to run her with Gion, if you want to run her with Donjin, whoever the case may be, you can run her with a plethora of characters. The other nodes are crit rate and then attack. Now, her Forte Circuit, after using Resonant Skill Magnetic Roar, Yinlin's crit rate's increased by 15 seconds, which is insane because you need crit rate in this game, as we have talked about multiple times. And then the last one is the damage of Resonant Skill. Lightning Execution is increased by 10% when hitting targets marked with Sinner's Mark, and Yinlin's attack is increased by 10 seconds for 4 seconds when this is triggered. You're pretty much just getting more damage for doing your Resonant Skill in your Forte Circuit. Like, it doesn't get simpler or easier than that. It is just strictly way more damage. Now, before we go into the gameplay real quick, her best in slot weapons. So the thing with her is she doesn't seem to be the most free-to-play friendly character. Obviously, her best in slot is going to be the weapon that's on the banner right now, which is actually very good for a lot of characters, pretty almost every rectify user in the game. So this is crit rate. Increase the damage bonus by 12% when dealing resonant skill damage. So again, resonance aberration or resonant skill, it doesn't matter. When dealing resonant skill damage, you know, her skill, increase attack by 12%, stacking up to 2, so 24% buff. The effect lasts for 5 seconds. When the equipped resonator is not on the field, increase their attack by an additional 12%. Bro, you're just getting a bunch of attack. You're getting a bunch of buffs. It's very good. The Jinzo Keeper is actually not bad as well. Double attack. She scales off attack, which is good. When intro skill is released, the character's casters attack by 8% and HP by 10%, lasting for 15 seconds. So you just get more attack, and this is pretty solid. And then the Battle Pass one is not the worst thing ever either. The Battle Pass is pretty direct. This is going to give you crit rate, which is pretty solid. When Resonance Liberation is released, increase the caster's attack by 15%, lasting for 15 seconds. So those are probably really the best things you can go with her. Free-to-play, she isn't really the most free-to-play character type deal, but I mean, like, you could make a few other ones work with her. You know what I'm saying, right? Sets. What do you want to put on her? I'm just going to put on Alto real quick just because he's naked right now. There's 2 sets. You can go Moonlit to make her a sub-DPS, and it's very valid. And if you do go Moonlit, it's going to be the same basic thing. It's going to be the best in slot is going to be the Imperant's Heron, simply for the fact that, again, once the attacks hits an enemy, restore current character's resonance energy, increase the next character's damage dealt. The whole point of this set is to give your next on-field character even more buffs. So this is very solid if you were strictly running sub-DPS and specifically not going to be running with Kalkuro or Yanwu. Obviously, you could run this with Kalkuro or Yanwu to get Yanwu or Kalkuro's damage up even more. But personally, if you are running this with Kalkuro, or if you want to run her as a main DPS, the other set is going to be this one, the Void Thunder set. The 2 pieces electro damage, and then upon using heavy attacks or resonance skill or electro damage, upon using heavy attack or resonance skill, electro damage increases. The best in slot is going to be the Thundering Memphis. You know, increase the current electro damage and resonance aberration damage. You know, it's just straight electro damage. The stats you want, really, you definitely don't want arrow damage like how I got there. You just want attack, crit rate, crit damage, you know, resonance liberation, resonance skill damage. You do want the electro on the 3s, you know, basic stuff, nothing too crazy. This game, building them is not too bad. The hardest part about it is getting the actual substats on the artifacts, but actually, like, figuring out what they need isn't too horrible. So pretty basic stuff here. Teams. Team comps, I'm not going to lie to you, she's going to work with a lot of people. Obviously, Kalkuro, Yinlin, and you go Baiji. You can go Verena in that spot instead. You could go Jonshin if you wanted to as a support. That's not bad. You could go, if you were running her as a DPS, Yinlin, Yanwu, and Verena instead, and you can, you know, kind of swap between those two. Or you could even run Yinlin as a sub-DPS, Kalkuro as a main DPS, and then Yanwu as another sub-DPS, and just do mono electro and do a shit ton of damage. She could also work with Jian. You could run Jian, Yinlin, and Verena / Baiji. She really can work with anyone because, again, at the end of the day, the coordinated attacks will work with anybody as long as you do the skills properly and mark them properly, and she's going to give you that resonance liberation damage. So there's really a bunch of team comps here, and you can really flex with her. But obviously, I think she is going to be best with Kalkuro as well as with future DPS characters that come out that are under the electric tree. So let me show you this real quick. It's not complicated. Let's break this shit down. Okay, and then even here it says recover forte gauge with basic attack, heavy attack, or resonance skill on hit. Hold basic attack to get the enhance. And then Chameleon Cypher when forte gauge is full. Hold down heavy. So look, I'm going to show you this real quick. Now we're going to do a normal attack here. You see it does add the mark here, and then if I hit E, it gives you that other part of the mark, and now you're doing those coordinated attacks. You will only do up to 4. Now I'm going to mark them again, but when I swap to Yanwu, I'm not getting the coordinated attack. So again, look. So you could do the E, you could swap to someone else, whatever. Get off a couple more hits, swap back, and then bam, you get those coordinated attacks. So E, I can swap off real quick, do whatever, get a few other hits in, swap back, bam. Pretty basic stuff here. With her Forte circuit, if I pop this right now with nobody on the field marked, when I swap back to someone else, it's not going to do these follow-up attacks. So there's nothing here, right? She's not doing coordinated attacks. But we do that. Bam. Swap back here. You have the marks, and her Forte circuit comes up extremely quick. So hold on, let's kill them real quick. This is the burst, obviously. Insane damage, just straight up crazy damage. Let's kill them just to. All right, so you mark them. We're gonna hit E again. Now we're gonna do the Forte circuit. I swap out to Yanwu, and now you get these coordinated strikes. They have to have the mark. So as you see, that one I'm not getting the coordinated strikes on, but I was attacking the one with the mark, I get the coordinated strikes. So it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. The only thing you really got to do is just manage your marks, you know? Make sure that you're hitting the people, hitting the ones with the marks on them. And that is her kit, man. Obviously, there's probably be more advanced tech as time goes on and probably better rotations, you know, and better timing with, like, the double E. But, again, you can do that E back-to-back. That's the first mark, and then that's the second one. It's going to do even more. So, she's great. She's great. I can't recommend her enough. I think she's going to be very good. And that's Yinlin, bro. It's Yinlin. So, with that being said, let me know what you think. Mwah. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. This is the basic breakdown of her kit. If I get her, we're building her in one day. But I see you on the other side. Mwah. Boop.